All right, everybody, we are live. We're doing a little Thanksgiving action here. I got a few hours before I have to be seen. Let's get our Amazon stream going, and then we'll kick things off here. So if you are looking to escape Thanksgiving for a little while, you're in luck, because that is what we're going to do. We got yet another Beelink mini PC. They keep coming. This one's kind of a good deal right now, so I figured I would lead with this. So let me get a little more configuration going here, and then we'll get moving. I just have to. What did I have to do here? Oh, I got to get my chat thing going here. So let's hit that, and then I think we're ready to go. Yeah. So this is a Beelink SER8. SER8. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody, by the way. Justin and David here. This is a SER8, and this one came in free of charge from Beelink, in full disclosure. Now, we looked at another one that looked just like this recently. This has the Ryzen 8745HS processor, and this one is different than the 8845, but it performs about the same. The big difference is that this lacks the NPU stuff. So, yeah, I'm not a parade watcher. I'm sure somebody's watching a parade somewhere. Yeah, so this is the trick. If you need an escape, here you go. This is what you can do for the next couple hours to get out of anything there. But it's good to see everybody's well wishes. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. I'm going to go see my mom in a little bit, so we're going to do that. And my rest of my clan is in Boston, but I wanted to hang back here with Mom, so we're going to do that. And I'm just making sure that my captioning is working properly. I'm supposed to caption all these things, and it doesn't look like, so it's coming up in one area here, but not in the other. So I've got to fix that real quick, and then we can carry forth with the rest of this. So the way this is supposed to work is that my captions have to appear on the Amazon stream in real time here, which they don't appear to be. And it looks like it's even more screwed up because I'm only getting a picture of the computer, not me. So I got to fix this real quick. Give me a second here to address this, and then we'll get moving. All right, so output 2 is output. Okay, so we'll fix that. So that should, there we go. So that's working. Okay, now I think I got it. All right, so that works. And it is a little hard to see the captioning, but I think it'll be easier when we switch back to this thing here. So that should cover it. Okay, so now we got 87 people on the Amazon stream. We've probably got an equal number here on YouTube, about 51. And yeah, this is your Thanksgiving escape hatch for a little bit. So we're going to boot this thing up. I've already done some benchmarks on it. And I will put some chat stuff in. This is running with the non-AI Ryzen processor. And if you've seen any of this local AI stuff you can run, I don't think you need the local AI right now. It's not doing much. So that is why I think this is a good deal. This is a Black Friday deal. And so you can get a pretty good price on it. I think it's a little less than it normally is. Typically, this has a coupon attached to it. But we'll, excuse me, we'll get her booted up here, and you can take a look. And I have to plug my monitor into power, otherwise we'll not see anything. So we'll get some power going here, and yeah, we'll kick it off. Okay, there we go. Look at that. All set to go. And I think everything's working now the way it's supposed to. And hopefully my YouTube stream is, yes, I think we're good. Okay. All right, so now I'm just going to log into this computer here real quick. And we'll get going. Look at that nice turtle. Anybody play with Logo back in the day? All right. So why don't we pop in and do some stuff here. I'm going to just adjust my display scaling real quick. And I'm also going to add my NDI source here so we can pipe it through the video system. There we go. All right, so now we're going to make this 200%. And we'll load up some games. So if you're curious, because you're going to see mini PCs that have the 8845HS, this is the 8745HS Ryzen. And what I'm discovering with this is that the performance is pretty much identical to the 8845, except this, I believe, lacks the NPU on board. So that's going on. Yeah, my kids watch Bluey at night, as do I. I like Bluey more than a 48-year-old man should. Happy Thanksgiving to Ricky Jones. Yep, we're going to be here. I'm sure there's lots of dads here popping in. Anthony Bianco. I'm going to take the day off later today. So I got nothing else going on right now. I've got some silence in the house, and I would have done this anyhow. So my job is my hobby. Hey, Kyle's here. Good to see you. Hopefully you get on the air a little bit today. I think I might boot my radio up in a little bit. And yeah, some little tribble problems here. We got it all worked out. And Al is watching the parade over the air, which won't be for long when they encrypt everything. And I did logo on my Apple II, is what I did. All right. And DVMD in the Amazon chat says, Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. All right, so why don't we do some stuff here? So I've got, this is another thing that's on Black Friday. You can always count on the drives to go on sale on Black Friday. So what I first want to do here is do a quick test of the USB 4 port in the back. So this one has a USB Type-C on the front that's 10 gigabit, but on the back it's USB 4, 40 gigabit, compatible with Thunderbolt. So you could attach, for example, a GPU or something to it. And I plugged this hard drive in because this one is a Thunderbolt drive. And so it's a great way to determine the performance of the port. Now, before we test the performance, though, we have to do two things. I have to copy over my disk speed test application. So I'm going to grab that off of my NAS here, and I will show you that in a second. And I have a software directory where all that stuff lives. Let's find it here, software. And disk speed test, we'll just copy that over. All right. So we will load up the disk speed test, and I can actually give you my screen capture here. Now, before we run the test, what you have to do with a Thunderbolt drive is you have to configure the Thunderbolt drive properly. And to do that, we go into Hardware, Properties, Change Settings. This is deep, unfortunately. Policies. Honest to goodness, every time you want to use a Thunderbolt drive, you have to do this. So there you go. Hit OK. OK, and we're good to go. And so Jay Richardson's having a hard time finding me on Amazon. So is it giving you, did it push you out a notification? They change it all the time and how people can find you. But if you go to Lon.TV/Amazon shop, that is my shortcut. And DPT17 is here. And he says the opposite, which is that he was able to get into this quickly. And T. Cunningham, happy Thanksgiving to you. And we'll continue the well wishes here. I do have one in the works. I'm going to maybe get to it next week. I got another pile of stuff for Amazon hauls. And maybe somebody can help Poorly Buffalo here find some deals on storage. Okay, so let's run the test here. We're going to go and select our target drive, which is our Thunderbolt drive. And this doesn't have Thunderbolt, but it has 40 gigabit per second USB 4. And I'm also going to go in and set up a B-roll folder on my production machine here. Beelink SER8. Now, what's neat about my production system is that I have four 4K inputs going into it, all this other stuff that you're seeing. And what's cool is that it only uses up about 10% of my overall system resources. So 44% of the GPU's memory is active, but the overhead here is very low. And yeah, so this is so I have a bunch of SSDs, as you all know. So this one I am using for my Steam games because we test a lot of computers on the channel. So I have all the games preloaded on here, so I don't have to re-download them every time. And I use this SanDisk 1 terabyte one for that. G. Johnson, happy Thanksgiving to you. And Brandon, thank you for the follow on Amazon. And if you click through the Amazon link that's in the video description, you can see the price on this one. Right now it is $4.99, which is close to its usual price. I think it's a little less than it is usually right now. And what Beelink does, and many of these other companies do the same thing, is that they often have a coupon that makes the price lower when you click on it. And so for Black Friday, you get the price without having to click on the coupon. But it's a little less than normal. I think it's a slightly, like $20 or $30 less than usual. Okay, so let's run the test here and see what we get. All right, so we have configured it here to the Thunderbolt drive. And what I'm looking for is about 2 gigabytes per second. And we're getting about that. It's a little slower on the writes than usual, but the writes should be, at least on the first run, should be pretty close to the reads. So a little bit of overhead on the output, but it's not bad. If you plug the GPU into this, it should be fine. You know, within reason. I've got one over there we could try out if you really want to. But it's okay. So that is that, and I forgot to record it. So let me do that again because I don't think I put any B-roll into the. Let's take a look. Nope. So let's run that again. But as you can see, it's pretty snappy, as it should be, because you've got like the latest Ryzen processor here without any power constraints. All right, let's hit the record button this time. There we go. Yeah, so the writes are a little bit off, but not. I mean, it's within the margins. So you're about 200 megabytes slower than I would usually see out of this drive, but not a bad result. All right, so that's that. And I'll just label our clip here. And Riley, happy Thanksgiving to you. Yeah, this is the, I'm going to do a whole bunch of streams tomorrow. So we're going to do, I have 2 scheduled right now for tomorrow. I've got a Chromebook that I think will be on sale along with a whole pile of these mini PCs. And then later in the afternoon, I'll have something else going on. And then Friday night, tomorrow night, we're doing one of my live auctions to get rid of stuff. So you'll have to pop in for that. Let's take some more questions here. James Randolph is here. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Antonio, best wishes to you as well. And Greg M is trying to downgrade Microsoft. Yeah, I think you pay by like an annual subscription for that, so you have to wait till it ends, right? So Dolphin says these have bad Wi-Fi. I guess I could test the Wi-Fi, couldn't I? And it's midnight in the Philippines. It sure is. And yeah, so there's going to be some big changes if you don't follow me on the TV front. T. Cunningham, yes. Be sure to go to my Whatnot page and hit the reminder, because we're going to go live tomorrow night, Friday, at 6:30 p.m. Eastern is what we're doing. It's going to be a long day for me tomorrow. Okay, so I'm going to close this out. What I want to do next is a quick network speed test, and maybe we'll do both the Wi-Fi and the Ethernet just to see how that does. So let's go into, and then we'll play some games, because I'm sure some of you want to see how the games run on this thing. But it's nice. It looks like a Mac Mini, and you know, they kind of had this look before Apple did, or maybe they made their own version of what Apple's typically looks like, but it's pretty cool. You are correct. They are not the quality level. You don't have the support with it, but I've been using a Beelink for my ham radio stuff, and it's a couple years old now, and it still works fine. It's actually a nice little computer. All right, now we're going to do a speed test here of the network. So this is the Ethernet first. And this has 2.5 gig Ethernet on board. All right, so here we go. And that's about right. And that's about right. So the Ethernet is strong here, which is good. That's our downstream, and then we'll do the upstream. And you could plug in a 10 gig Ethernet adapter if you wanted to through the USB 4 port in the back. And by the way, I am streaming out to 2 different sources right now, and I still have that upload. That's because I found the secret Comcast menu item, and we got 10 gig symmetrical here now. Don't hate me. Okay, so now this will be Ethernet. And Chris Allegretta with the super chat, thank you very much. He's slowly trudging along I-81 in New York as his kids wanted to go to Niagara Falls. That's a fun Thanksgiving adventure. He'll be driving and not commenting. So now his kids have to listen to me the whole time unless he's got headphones on. Well, my goal is to get my pilot's license in the next year, and then I can just fly my kids up there. It'll be a lot quicker. And Poorly Buffalo likes the silver look. Yeah, they've got that. I think they looked at what Apple was doing with their Mac Mini and made a... And it's nice. I think it's aluminum. It's got a nice build to it. I would say that, because I look at a lot of these mini PCs, the Beelink industrial design, I think, is one of the nicer ones in the industry, by far. And that even goes back to some of their older ones. So the one I have that I use for my ham radio one is about, like I said, about 2 or 3 years old. And it is working great. All right, so let's eject the Thunderbolt drive. What I'm going to do now is switch over to the Wi-Fi, because that was a question about the Wi-Fi performance. So let's see how it does with the Wi-Fi. All right, it has connected to my Wi-Fi access point. And why don't we run it again? Okay, here we are once more. And let's take a quick look at the Wi-Fi speeds. Okay, so this is now Wi-Fi, and I've got Wi-Fi 6 here, and the access point is in the room. There's nothing else using it. Ooh, that's not good. Oh, it's picking up now. It's going a little better. But yeah, I could see why people think the Wi-Fi isn't great on this. It should be better than that. We should be getting about 600 or 700 megabits per second. That's a problem. Yeah, see, that's what we should be getting that on the downstream. So it's settling in around 300 in both directions, which is about half of what I would expect out of this. So I would be in concurrence that the Wi-Fi on this is not spectacular. I need to start testing the Wi-Fi more frequently on these. So the 10 gig plan is about $320 a month. But it is obviously a business expenditure, so that's what, in my mind, justifies it. And you know, one of the key things for me is that I don't need 10 gigs, but it's the only option. So when I got it, it was 2 gigs, which was more than enough. And then what happened is they got into this tit for tat with the local fiber provider because they each wanted to have the most. They both wanted to have the most, or could say they have the fastest connection available. So Comcast had all this extra bandwidth they could just turn up because this is a direct fiber connection, Metro Ethernet, all the way back to the head end. So I have a dedicated line, essentially the same. I basically have the same connection that goes into one of their cable nodes for a whole neighborhood. I have it right to my equipment room back there, which is insane. So it's a very high quality service. I've had no downtime in 3 years. I mean, it's been up the whole time. I've had maybe like a glitch, very rarely. It's really crazy. And Antonio, yeah, they've gotten so much better. Remember when like a mini PC was a compromise? Now they're like legitimately useful. All right, so now why don't we plug in my drive here? yeah. My goal is to not get on any of those channels, and I watch all of them. And you know what's funny? How good these channels are, because I've now flown several times, for my flight training, and as I'm doing pre-flight checklists or even in the air, like I'm remembering the lessons learned from a lot of those analysis videos, which are really helpful. So Esther says that the fiber goes down all the time. Yeah, fiber is not all equal. So what most of them do, and I did a video on this. Most of them use it's a shared service. It's called XGS-PON, which stands for Passive Optical Network, where they have you basically sharing the fiber basically with other people in your neighborhood. It works fine. It doesn't have any interference, but it's not a direct Metro Ethernet connection. So for all intents and purposes, I am plugged in via Ethernet all the way back to the head end about 5 or 6 miles away with this service. So if you're able to get Comcast, they call it Gigabit X10 now, I think. It's a tremendously good connection, like amazingly so. All right, so let's get my 8BitDo controller configured. This is on sale today too, by the way. They've got one with a case for $42. This is my favorite game controller. So I'm going to power it up here, and I'll hit the pair button. And let's go to the Bluetooth settings here. Sometimes it pops up automatically when you're trying to get going, but it doesn't always do that. Thomas Miller says, how can they afford to put the power button on the front? Come on. That's right. It's right there. You can push the button like a normal human being. All right, let's add my controller here. All right, we're good to go. So now what I'm going to do, so if we go to my library, I only have like one thing here, right? But what we can do is go up to the settings, and if we go over to storage, what we can do is add a drive. I said add a, there it goes. Let me choose another location, and what I've got here is my Extreme SSD. And just select the folder, and now I've got stuff in my library. So there we go. So we got a whole bunch of stuff here. So what we'll do first is, why don't we do Red Dead Redemption 2? There's always a bit of a installation process with this, so give me a second on this one. So even though the game is installed, so I don't have to download the whole 128 gigabytes here. So I just have to go in through their launcher. Oh, excuse me. I just sneezed. I hit the mute button, so you didn't hear that. All right. And we just have to go through this rigmarole here. And this will boot up. You know what's funny? There's been a flip-flop in what people want to see on my channel. So for a long time, laptop reviews have been like my bread and butter. Like everybody watches the laptop reviews at some point. And the mini PCs were always below that in popularity. Now it is flipped. So every laptop review I'm doing is like bottom of the barrel for how it stacks up against the other videos. Mini PCs are now the bread and butter of this channel. People love them. All right. Yeah, gaming is still Apple's trying, but you're right. Gaming is still an issue on the Mac side. Although I'll tell you, I'm doing a lot more gaming on my Steam Deck than I've been in anything else. I have like this great gaming PC upstairs, but I'm never up there, right? Because I'm always with the kids or whatever, and I just don't have time to like sit down and play a game as much as I used to. But on the Steam Deck, it's so convenient, and it runs most of the stuff that I want to run on it. The emulation experience is great on that too. I think I covered that in my retro video I did the other day. I'm just typing in a password for my launcher here. It's one of my gripes about Steam, though, is that you have your Steam thing, and then you got to log in to something else to get your games to work. So it's a pain in the tuchus. All right, we're just waiting for the thing to do whatever it does. I think it's going to send me a code. Enable cloud saves. And typically the settings are always out of whack on this because we play this on everything. So we just got done working on a gaming laptop, so I have no doubt I have to, have to adjust the settings again. But we'll do that. So we may have a switcheroo on the reboots there, on the reboots. Me too. I've always loved mini PCs myself. So I reviewed the ROG Ally. I reviewed the, and by the way, Travis, we're giving away a Legion Go, brand new on the stream on Friday night. I've tried the Legion Go, I've tried the Ally, and I keep coming back to the Steam Deck. And the Ally and the Legion Pro have more powerful processors, but the comfort of, just the weight and the comfort and the controls, I think, are better on the Steam Deck, in my opinion. All right, so let's go into settings here. We got to get this, get these graphics adjusted. All right, so resolution, we're going to go to 1080p. And we're going to go full screen. VSync off. So we'll do our performance settings here. So I've got everything pretty much set to low. And we'll apply changes. And I think we're probably going to have to do a reboot. Yeah, restart. Okay, so we'll do that real quick. This is a very true statement. And they're making great servers now. Something like this, because this one's got like 32 gigs of RAM on it. Like you could run a pretty sizable website off of this thing. They run Linux great too. We'll boot Linux up before we wrap up. But yeah, I think, and that's where it's like, well, why not, if you could put an external GPU on there, you may as well, right, go and just build yourself a PC. All right, so now we're going to load some games up here. I'm just being very careful with my capture thing because sometimes it locks up like it's doing right now. Oh, so much for that. All right, well, we'll just capture it off the display here. And I'll write down the frame rates. So give me a second to put some notes into my Google Doc here. I just heard something click, which did not sound good to me. Well, we'll see if it explodes. Okay, so let's go and, I mean, how good would it be for ratings if the thing just exploded right now? But I don't think it will. All right, so this is going to be the Beelink SER8, and the first thing here is Red Dead Redemption 2. For some reason, the graphics don't look 1080p to me. Let's go back and look at graphics. That's because it's 720p. That's why. All right, 1920 by 1080, everything else is good. That's better. Okay. Much better. Okay, so now let's get our frame rate counter up there. And game FPS counter, we'll do top left. Okay. All right, so we're getting about 50 frames per second here at low settings. And if I'm not mistaken, we should see a little bit more than that. So let me go back up and look at those settings again real quick. I'm trying to remember what we got on the 8845 we looked at the other day. Big screen tear there too. Or now we're up to 60, but we're close to something here. Let's get, let's roll down the hill here. See how we do. Yeah, so we're running about 50-ish here. But let me check something real quick, because if I remember correctly, let me go back to my documents here, 8845HS. So the K8 Plus that we just looked at has the 8845. Oh, it's getting about the same. Yep, so that's about what it should be. All right, let's put that in my book here, and I'll do some recording. So here's my recommendation on NVMEs. I say stick to a name brand, and I know that's not like a specific recommendation, but there we go. Now I've got it. I may just kill myself so I can get into a more interesting area to look at. But I found that you can't go wrong with a name brand. So I usually stick to Samsung, WD, and Micron's Crucial brand. So, for example, my production machine is running with a Crucial. I've got a 4 terabyte Crucial in this machine, which I'm now recording to. Looks pretty, doesn't it? So, yeah, we're getting about 50 to 60 frames per second at 1080p. If we went down to 720p, we'd do a little better. But this is about where this processor should be. So we're about 55 here. Yeah, so when there's a little bit more complexity, it'll slow down slightly. So it's not, it gets to 60 occasionally, but not all the time. But it looks nice. All right, so let's log that real quick. So about 300. And SK Hynix, by the way, I just got in a new one from them, an external, which I will be reviewing soon, called the Beetle, and they are also a very good brand. In fact, they are like this. I think they're like the second biggest company in Korea, and I learned this because they were indirectly our sponsor. Well, actually directly, because we went through an agency, but they were our sponsor for CES last year. And I did not know much about them before I met them, and I met like a good chunk of their of their departments. But those are good drives also. Yeah, SK Hynix, Samsung, WD, Crucial, all decent. And yes, running at the lowest settings. I always run on these mini PCs. I always push the lowest settings just to see what we can get to maximize frame rate. So I think frame rate is probably the most important thing to most folks these days. All right, so let's do my other favorite game here. Actually, this is my favorite game, not my other favorite game. I'm an Ubuntu guy. I always pronounce it wrong, but that's what I use. So I have it, you'll see this on my mini PC stream I'll be doing later in the week. I have that little GMK Tech that costs like less than the, it costs less than like a Raspberry Pi does now, but it runs Intel, and Ubuntu runs great on that. And I've been starting to play with Unraid also, so that's been a fun one too. Actually, this might be a good opportunity for me to pick up my new spaceship to add to my fleet, because I finished one of the things the other day, so we'll do that real quick. Yeah, Linux emulation has gotten really good, and I'm doing it now on my Steam Deck, right? Because that's all Linux, and everything runs great on the Steam Deck. All right, we're going to do a little, and you know, sometimes I get some heat because I play the same games every time, but I'm old, so what do you expect? But secondly, it's good to be able to compare one thing against the other. So we'll boot this up and see how this does. But no external GPUs here. This is all local. No streaming, just off of the SoC. And getting a lot of recommendations about Linux Mint. I should play with it a little bit too. What I like about Ubuntu, and the reason why I use it a lot, is because they have, and we'll be running this in a minute, they have a live version that you can just boot up without having to install it. And I found that to be really helpful for doing reviews of laptops and stuff. But generally on just about every mini PC I'm looking at lately, they all run Linux fine. All right, here we are. I spawned in the water here. It's still getting everything set up, so we'll give it a minute to chill out here. Yeah, there it goes. Now this game, by the way, is one that runs on the Mac really well, because they've optimized this for the Apple Silicon. So this is my home base. There's some hazardous flora here, as you can see. And if you're curious, by the way, the power consumption, we're drawing about 100 watts right now. Make a note of that. So I'll give you a look at my universe here. So this is my base, and I do have to like do some landscaping here. Every once in a while, the grass kind of grows back in. But this is the base, and I've set up like a little waterfront property here. So I've got this nice lake overlooking the water. And I have a bunch of underwater features here too, so you can see you can walk all the way down there. Isn't that cool? And I've talked about this before, but this also works in virtual reality. So when you're in your VR mode, you can do some really fun stuff. So I'm just going to check the settings real quick. Okay, we got all that standard here. Okay, this is at the lowest settings. And they've been upping the graphical complexity of this game, so it does change over time in what it requires. And this is my new spaceship. I just fell down. Let's go back up here. Boy, those nasty plants are everywhere. Let's get rid of that thing. So this is my new ship. I did one of their missions. They have these community expeditions. And if you complete it, you get a new ship. So that's my new ship. It's really fun. Okay, so let's pop in here. And so in case you're wondering about the frame rate, we're doing about 45 to 50 here on the planet with all this complexity. And you'll see that frame rate start to jump up now that I'm in the spaceship. So we'll go ahead and head into orbit here. I love looking out the side. It's really so cool. This one doesn't have as much of a view out the side, but in VR, it's super cool. All right, so now we're in orbit here. And let's give it a little bit of time to settle down. Only doing about 30, there it goes. Now it's up to 50. Yeah, it has to draw in some stuff. It's a little laggy here. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm also not seeing my shots getting fired here, so I'm not sure if there's some video glitch going on. But that planet over here, we can actually go land on it. So we can set our pulse drive, and it takes about 30 seconds to reach this planet. We can land on the daylight side of it. And then what we'll do is we'll go and claim my new battle cruiser. Oops. You look around the ship while it's going here. Yeah, the frame rate in orbit here it's all over the place. So right now it's at 80. It was like at 30 a second ago, like once I dropped out of warp. Now it's doing better. All right, so we'll do a little screen grab here. So I'll hit the record button. So Robert's wondering what game. This is No Man's Sky. It's one of my favorites. It's a open universe game. You have open worlds that are full-size planets to explore, and you can just hop out. You'll see this in a second here. So we just flew to this planet. We're going to jump out and have a look around. All right, and we'll just set her down here. It happens to be a structure here, so we'll go. Okay, so right now we're at 80, about 60, it's going 60 to 80 frames per second over here. What will happen with this is that it will, it's got a little bit of glitchiness. I wonder if I should check the drivers. When you get into more areas of more complexity, it slows down to around 50. So I'm going to rate this one around 50 to 60. But we can look up and actually see where we came from, which is that planet over there. This is a low-gravity planet, so I'm hopping around a little bit more. There's my spaceship. I can jump back into it, which we're going to do right now. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go back into space here. We're going to summon the space anomaly, and we're going to have a look at one of the new ships that I could add to my fleet here. So I'm just going to get out from the planet a little bit. And we'll stop here. And now we'll summon the anomaly. Boom, there it is. This is a great way to meet other players too, because they all kind of congregate inside of this thing. Yeah, the textures are off here, so I'm not sure if they changed I don't think they changed the graphics on this. This could actually be lag off of the SSD. But now it's got all the details here. So we're going to talk to this guy over here. He's going to give us our ship, because I completed one of the missions here. So we'll collect expedition rewards, and what I want is my, oh, I got two of them here. Oh, it's a banner, so this is my frigate. So I'm going to claim this. And I need to spend 1,200. How much click through does it cost? Let's see, I think it's free. All right, it's been added. So now we're going to summon my fleet. And we'll be able to see it. So let's jump back into the ship here. And to answer Robert's question, yes, so we're running the game off of the off of this right now. So you can do that. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice again. So you can do that in Steam. You can actually run the games off of external media like this. So it does give you, it does have a little bit of a performance hit, at least insofar as pulling items off the disk. And this game, as it's developed, they've made the graphics much more complex. So I think I'm starting to see the limits of what you can do with a USB SSD versus an NVMe, which I think they're probably basing their whatchamacallits on. Doesn't that look cool? The sound is really cool in this game too. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to summon my fleet. So I've got this, and then we're going to summon my battle cruiser. Now what will happen here is it'll warp in, which it's doing now. I'm going to back up a little bit. And then my other ships will come in after that. And as you can see, some of them are damaged. So what you do is you send these ships out on missions, and then the ships basically earn you money while you're not playing. And I've got a lot of money now. So if you check my thing here, I've got 210 million credits. So I've got quite an operation here. I'll show you some of my other locales here in a minute. I just want to check out my new cruiser. So they had this like tie-in with Mass Effect. So now I've got one of the Mass Effect battle cruisers in my fleet here. And if I stop here, you can take a look and see all the other ones that are in my battle group. Isn't this cool? So you build this up over time. You recruit these frigates, and then, like I said, you send them out on missions, and they come back with rare elements, but they sometimes get damaged. So if you look on, this one's damaged. That one of the other ones here is damaged also. So what you have to do is you have to climb on the ship and then fix everything. But what's neat is you can dock with all these ships and see what's on board. So we'll just land on the ship here and get out. That's what I love about this game, is you can just go to anything, any planet, just about any ship you can work with here. And if I hop out, I think I can actually go inside. Let's see. You've got 2 landing pads on here. You can play multiplayer too, which is really neat. Let's follow the deck around here and see what the ship looks like. You gotta be careful because sometimes you can fall and die, which we don't want to do. May not be a way in on this one. Oh, there's a stairwell. Let's take a look. There we go. The inside, it looks like the other ships. It's not really all that different. And the door's locked. Yeah, seeing some glitchiness here. I think it just might be time for update the drivers on this. But it gives you a real sense of scale. And what's funny is cool is when you're playing this in VR, the scale is remarkable on this. It's really cool. All right, collect some units here. I guess we collected some units. Okay. Oh, he's sending an opportunity. Okay. So I can go in and fix this one. It's a bit time consuming to do that, so we're not going to do that now. And what I will do, though, is land back on my main battle cruiser here and save the game. So we'll spin around here. And they have some cool space battles you can do now where you blow up the enemy cruisers. And it's really cool. They have like trench runs and stuff. They've done so much to this game to make it better. It's really cool. All right, we'll dock on my ship here, and we'll try something else. Yeah, I'm leaving in a little bit myself. Yeah, the Normandy frigate, that's right. Yeah, so I just reviewed that one, the K8 Plus. Now this one's a little less expensive. It doesn't have the Oculink. It does have a Thunderbolt port or a USB 4 port. And the game is called No Man's Sky. I'll put it in the chat because a lot of people were asking on Amazon. But it runs pretty nicely on this. I wonder if I can add it to my carousel here. I don't know if it's on sale or not. Let's see, No Man's Sky. It's on every console too. You can buy it. You can get it for Switch. You name it. Yeah, there's no sale on it today. You can get it on Switch, on the Xbox, on the PlayStation, and they just enabled cross-platform saves. So you can start in one and finish in another, which is really cool. Oh, then here's the other thing. So in my hangar here, so on your ship, this is where all your ships live. So you can have more than one main ship. So this is my new one here, the one I got from my most recent adventure. This is the one I started with. I just keep it for posterity's sake, my little snub-nosed fighter here. And then over here, where's my other one? I got a really cool one on the other side of the hangar here. This one that's my cargo ship. I have two more. That's my cargo ship, and then this one is I found this one crashed on a planet, and I brought it back to life. Isn't that cool looking? It's a monster. It's undefeated. It's like so powerful. My new one is a little more powerful than this one, but it's still like super, super lethal. Yeah, so I'm trying to get more of my friends to play this. Nobody has the time. Because you can build out like your own little section of the universe. So like the planet that I live on, I discovered, I named it Lonville. So you can find it. If you come across my planet, you can visit it. So it's good stuff. All right. So that is No Man's Sky. And I'm going to rate this one like 45 to 60. Okay. Take some chats here. So Commodore Fan's doing his tomorrow. Yeah, I'm gonna go see my mom in a little bit. So she's just right around the corner. So we're gonna go do that, have some dinner over there in a little while. And my kids went to my in-laws with my wife over in Boston, and they'll be back tomorrow afternoon sometime. So Anthony brings up the topic. Yeah, Black Friday seems to be like a whole month now, doesn't it? You have lead-up sales and all this other stuff. And you got to be careful because sometimes this stuff really isn't that much of a bargain either, right? There was an update to the game which I hadn't downloaded. Oh well. So hopefully my save game doesn't get all out of whack. Okay, so now why don't we do? I can put something else on here. Let's try. Let's see how long it would take to install one of the Game Pass things, maybe. Maybe Doom Eternal. Let's try that. Now this game, Doom Eternal, is very fast. So let's see how this does. Okay, so let's see what we get here. And it looks like my closed captioning stopped working again. So what's going on with that? Okay, so I am still talking here. There it goes. And now I got to redo the thing here. Give me 1 second, everybody. So Amazon requires that I keep closed captioning working. The problem is that it stops working, and then I have to redo it for some reason. Okay, so let's go back to, because they don't have a built-in captioning, so I have to manually enable it. So let's go and fix that real quick. And then we can play one more game here. And I will take this apart in a minute too, because you can upgrade the RAM on it. Okay, there we go. So that's working. I just want to make sure my output is still, yes, okay. Okay, so we're going to jump into Doom Eternal real quick. let's get the video mode set up. So I think Jake was running this on another level here. Window full screen. Yeah, it's at 1920 by 1200, so 16 by 9 native, 1080. And overall quality, we're going to leave it on, I'm going to put it on low. Okay, so that's been applied. And I've played very little of this game, actually. Okay. There we go. So the captions are back on Amazon, hopefully not on YouTube. So I've got it so if you want captions on YouTube, you use the YouTube one. And then I've configured my system so the Amazon one shows. Oh, wow. This is running at 90 frame. Wow, this is really fast. So yeah, we're about 60 to 70 frames per second. I did not mean to do that. Sorry, it's a family show. Yeah, running at about 70 frames per second is where it's landing, which is great. This is low settings 1080p. I'm about to get eaten by these monsters. There it goes. That's pretty good, though. And Tech Time with Eric, thank you for the super chat. I missed that a few minutes ago. Let me find it on my list of chats here. Yeah, Doom is very well optimized. The fan noise is not loud on this either, so I'm hearing the fan, but it's very minimal. Now, granted, on the Mac, you don't hear it at all. Here, I'll do another recording here of. Yeah, this is running nice. It does slow down when you start encountering enemies and stuff, but it's definitely in the 60 FPS territory. All right, let's jump back up here to see what we can. Oops. I have to say that, for not being the original authors of Doom, these new games are really good. Like, they really capture the speed of the original. I've been playing Brutal Doom, which is a mod that keeps it very true to the, it is the original game, but it's it just has a few little tweaks that make it better. Let me figure out a way to get back up here. Now, the only thing going on in my life right now is that I have, my kids just did this Frozen play. This is totally random, but I can't get the Frozen songs out of my head right now because I've spent all of last weekend. I've seen this show 4 times that the kids did. So all I hear is Frozen songs. And then I made the mistake of going down the rabbit hole with my kids because they were curious about the Broadway production. So we found a bunch of clips on YouTube about that. And before you know it, now it's like nonstop around here. So good stuff. But yeah, Brutal Doom is a lot of fun. David Martin Grath is here. Oh, you tore your... Ouch. Gosh, that sounds like a really... How'd you do that? You know what I'm finding at my... I don't consider myself at an advanced age yet. I turned 48 2 weeks ago, so I'm getting there. But most of my friends, including me, whenever we fall now, it's not like you just get back up again. Like, there's usually something that breaks, which is really depressing. It's like last year I went skimboarding with my kids and I fell, and I think I broke a rib. I couldn't sneeze for a month. I should have gone to the doctor for it, but you know, it was the only thing that hurt. But yeah, it was pretty wild. But a friend of mine, actually my friend's younger brother fell. He had to get his whole shoulder reconstructed. Like, really? Are we that fragile? Okay, let me close out Steam. So I want to do some emulation on here next, and then we'll wrap it up. And we'll open it up, and then we'll wrap it up. So let's see. Well, I got to label everything here. So 301, No Man's Sky, and then 302. And let me just make a few notes on here. Okay. Okay. So now I've got RetroBat on this SSD. That's one of the fun things about having all these portable SSDs laying around here is I've got different ones for different things. So this is my Steam one, and the Seagate drive has my retro games on it. So I have EmuBat. I did a RetroBat. If you haven't seen RetroBat, I did a video about it. It is amazing. So what you do is you load up RetroBat. Hey, Recipe Bob is here. Happy Thanksgiving to you. Geez, yeah, this is poorly buffalo fell, metal rods. Although apparently shoulders are, I'll give you that. This is turning into the old man, the old man hour. We all need our ham radios too. Like that's the trick to all of this, right? Here, why don't we try an Xbox 360 game first? I did try this on the one we looked at last week, and let me check and make sure there's no updates here. First of all, check for updates. Start update. Let's see if there's any updates. So RetroBat, what's cool about it is that it organizes everything for you. It runs in Windows. So this is like the Windows equivalent of like Batocera or something like that. And it's portable. So I can take this drive, as you just saw, I just plugged it in. I don't have to install any emulators. It keeps everything up to date. Configuration across most emulators stays current. All right, so we'll take a look at that. So here's the one thing. I don't recommend Ryzen computers for Plex serving. They sometimes work, they sometimes don't. And if something changes on Plex's end, they target Intel QuickSync. So I would get an Intel one. And there are Intel ones for around the same price if you intend to use it as a Plex server. All right, so let's load this up. Now, I previously had configured it so there was a frame rate counter, but I'm not seeing that here. Where did it go? Let me back out of this real quick because I want to get that frames per second counter up and running here. Oh, you know what we did last time? We did it on, that's what we did. Yeah. Let's go back. Let's see, full screen, render target. There's a lot of options. But there is something somewhere where I can actually have it display the frames per second. So I'm going to hit the G thing. Maybe there's a way I can get it up. I'll use the, yeah. Does this show me frames per second? I'm just looking through here. If anybody remembers on RetroBat how to get the frames per second up, that would be helpful too. I'm going to pin this. Let's see if it gives me frames per second when I go back into the emulator. I don't think it does. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, it's giving me frames per second. Okay, cool. Move it? I can't move it. All right, so we'll give this a run real quick. So this is Burnout Revenge, but this is the Xbox 360 version. So let's see how this comes up. So what is the hover round? Do tell. All right, so let's jump into the game here. All right, let's give this a run here and see how it does. Right now, yeah, it's performing where I expect it to perform. So Xbox 360 emulation, you probably need a little more horsepower. But let's push it and see what we end up with here. Yeah, I don't think this frame counter is yeah, it's about where I saw it before, about 42. You'll see it slow down a little bit as it renders in. Oops. I mean, not bad. I mean, it's occasionally getting to full speed. But right there, it's dipping a bit, as you can see. So not perfect. So the PlayStation, I'll show you the PlayStation one next. So this one's doing, you know, it's about half, 30 frames per second right now. Just all those cars getting rendered in slow it down. And I'm pretty sure this game runs at 60 on the native console. All right, so now we'll jump to the PlayStation version. Let's see how that runs. Oh, well, I need one anyhow. Ah, see, that's the other thing is the high school injuries. So I was not a high school athlete, so I've been doing okay, but I'm starting to feel it a little bit. I wake up in the morning. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. If I sit idle for too long, my legs are stiff. You know, I got to keep moving, which is good. I mean, I want to keep moving. All right, so let's go to the PlayStation. So here's the PS2 version, and this will run at full speed. Same game. And let's see how this pushes the limits here. So now we have a proper frame counter, so I'll get rid of this one. I'll unpin this. So now the frames per second will be up on the top there. But these are, you know, ideal for retro emulation. So you install something like RetroBat, get all your old games, throw them on here. This thing will run anything. As you just saw, we weren't full speed on like an Xbox 360, but if you are a Gen Xer or a millennial, it will easily run everything that you've ever played. It's that good. So again, same game. This is the PS2 version now. I think it's stretching the image a little bit, but that's fine. We'll just deal with it. I'm really impressed by how optimized all of these. You know, I think the fact that developers had to work within extreme limitations made the games that much better, right? Like now with what we have now, I mean, it's, you know, they're not even using sprites anymore, right? So they have so much more available from an art perspective, from a performance perspective. And some of the best games, I think, were the ones that very, very cleverly made use of the limitations or took advantage of the limitations of the systems. All right, so this is the PS2 version of Burnout Revenge, the same game we were just playing. And now we're running at a full 60. Yeah, it dips down briefly. I've seen this before, but generally once it gets all its shaders loaded in or whatever, it tends to function better. Yeah, we're fine here. Woo! This is that same spot we were in on the other game, so you can see how much faster it runs. But this is a PS2 running at standard definition versus the Xbox 360 version running at high definition. This game is so awesome. I play this on my Steam Deck too. I've been playing this game since it came out. I can't stop. It's just so fun. It ruined me for all the other racing games because they have yet to make one better than this, and that includes Burnout Paradise. Like it's just not the same. But I did a video on this retro bat. It's so good. Like it just works, and it makes everything portable. So it's really fun. I think I've got like the start. That didn't work. I had tried that earlier, which was what do I have for the GameCube? Is that I've got ColecoVision, a little 3DO. 3DO was awesome. Here, I'll show you. I think I have the BIOSes installed. Let's see if this runs. But what's fun again is that you just pop in the drive. So this computer had not seen any of the software. It's just working. Thank you, SysTech911 Tim. And by the way, I hope everybody's having a great Thanksgiving. I am thankful for all of you. It's been a lot of fun playing games on Thanksgiving with all of you. And once again, my captions died again on. I guess the browser gets silent. What's going on here? Let's see. All right, so I got to redo the Amazon captions again. I'm going to email them about this because this caption thing is becoming a pain, and it is a requirement. So I got to keep the captions on for Amazon. Let me try to find a better captioning solution to make this work better. So bear with me, folks, on the Amazon side. I will have your captions back here in a second. And let's go back up to current projects, URL. Because every time I start it up, I get a new URL that I have to drop back into my production system for the captioning. So it's a big process. Okay, so we'll drop that in. Okay. Okay, so now I think we're good. So you should see the captions again on Amazon. And if they stop, let me know. So I'm trying to keep multiple windows up here, and I have to run this in Safari because it doesn't work on the other browser that I use. So that's why I think Safari is no longer, when it becomes not the active thing, it disappears. That could be why it's doing that. So Commodore had a Gold Star 3DO. Oh, it stops the second I take it off. Oh, that's what's happening. So if I take it off the live thing, it stops captioning. Let's see, maybe that'll fix it. Okay. So yeah, this is the 3DO. So I bought this system 30 years ago. I still have it. I've done videos about it. This was their Mortal Kombat knockoff. And you can't hear it right now, but there's oops, shoot. I think it's like locked to 2 players here. You can't hear it right now, but there's they use a soundtrack from White Zombie. I think it thinks I've got 2 players hooked up here. Arena, what's this one? Oh, you can choose your arena. Game. Yeah, it's not starting the game. I think it thinks I have 2 controllers attached. I'll come back to this one. I just paused it now. I don't know how to. Here's another fun one. This one's called Return Fire. That one's kind of fun. CR Paul is here. Hello there. Yeah, it's actually not too warm. I'm surprised. So we've been pushing this thing for a while now, and it is perfectly cool. It's actually a lot cooler than the Mac was when we looked at that. So Michael says, this game has so much stimuli on the screen. I wish I could turn off some of it. Maybe you, oh, is this, oh, is that Burnout? Yeah, you have to kind of get into the zone on Burnout, because I think the amount of stuff on the screen is like their distraction for that. All right, I'm not sure what I'm looking at here. Let's see. Let's play the game. We have to map controls differently. Whatever. It'll. There he goes. Okay. So this is, I think, it's a good example of what the 3DO was able to do. Now this was 30 years ago. There's other games like Road Rash that I think are a little better, obviously, but this one's kind of a fun like tactical thing, and you can play 2 players with it, split screen. But when you see this, this was not, you couldn't. The Super Nintendo had some of this capacity, but this is all 3D. So you've got 3D rendered stuff here that you can destroy. And at the time, none of the consoles could do what the 3DO was doing. What I could do? I could copy over Road Rash and show you that, because that one's a really good example of, I think, the difference that the 3DO brought to the mix. But your PCs at the time would struggle with this, even just doing the scaling and the rotation. Yeah, let me go find. I'll find the game here real quick and see if I can show you that, because I think the 3DO was underappreciated. It had its moment. They were smart about it because they made it so that the 3DO was manufactured by whoever licensed the hardware. So it wasn't just limited to to Panasonic, who was the first manufacturer. So it was Gold Star, who became LG. Panasonic, Sanyo actually, I think, had one. Not Samsung, but Sanyo. And then Creative Labs, who made the Sound Blaster, actually made a card for the PC. There's videos on it. So you could plug this card into the PC and turn it into a 3DO. And it was just passing the video through. It wasn't using any of the PC's hardware, really. Yeah, I'll copy 2 games over that I think were good examples. But yeah, Retro Battle run anything. And we'll do this real quick, and then I'm going to take it apart and show you what's inside. But as PCs go, yeah, these are good. I mean, in particular, the game playing capability on these is better than you might think. It's not up there. I mean, if you were looking at this or like an Xbox, I think the Xbox is probably still the better way to go, just from a, you don't have to configure anything. But if you wanted to do work and play some casual games on it, as you saw, we were running Red Dead Redemption 2 a minute ago. That worked fine. I could put some B-roll up as we're chatting here. So I've got a lot more people on the Amazon now than I had before. I've got 863 watching on Amazon right now. Isn't that crazy? So here is Red Dead Redemption 2 running on this computer. Isn't that wild? So it's 1080p. It's the lowest settings. It's nothing crazy, but it runs it, and it runs it at a playable frame rate, between 50 and 60 frames per second. It's actually playable. All right, so we're going to go and appreciate the 3DO for a minute, and then I'm going to take it apart, and then I got to go. Somebody told me I should take the day off, which I will. But that's what you can do with this. Okay. So go back into 3DO, and here's the other thing. I have to re-scrape it to get the thumbnails, but it finds those games immediately. And now those games are on this hard drive all the time. So when I take this out and put it on a different computer, it's right there. Yeah, so this was very expensive. But here's the thing. When it came out, it was as much as like the Neo Geo was. But look at the quality of the video that it had back in the day. But they lowered the price in, I think it came out in 93. In 94, they lowered the price in half to $3.99. And that's when I bought it. I bought it at $3.99. And so I bought this game and the 3DO from Babbage's in 1994. I still have it all. It's all. You've all seen it. Here, let me go back to. You have these really crazy characters and stuff. How do we erase here? We go to the bulletin board, and then yeah, there we go. So I had tried the 3DO out at a friend's house, and we played mostly the full motion video games. This one wasn't out yet when I saw it. And I was like, yeah, 3DO is pretty cool, but wow, is it expensive, right? And then this game came out, and I saw this playing at that Babbage's. I was like, holy mackerel. Because like you didn't get this, even on the PC, you couldn't get this level of, this is not something you got on the PC. And at the time, you know, you had the Sega CD, of course, you had the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis, but this was like light years beyond all of that. And granted, they got eclipsed almost immediately by Sony and their marketing muscle. But for a very short window before the PlayStation came out, like this was the system to beat from a performance standpoint, and the only one that really had 3D acceleration. So those buildings are texture mapped 3D models, if I'm not mistaken. The cars are sprites; they're scaled sprites. But it was a remarkable system for its time. So this was like, you saw this playing at the store. It's like, wow, what is that? Like it was just arcade quality, or beyond. Sarah Wells, happy Thanksgiving to you on Amazon. Thanks for stopping in. And I got some other folks to thank here too. David Tuttle. But yeah, I think the starting price definitely tainted things initially. It came down quite a bit. They got the hardware a lot less expensive. They had competing hardware manufacturers. But I think ultimately they couldn't get the price down quick enough. And then you had this battle royale that occurred after that, because Sony got aggressive on price. They marketed the heck out of that PlayStation. Like they spent a lot of money on the PlayStation, just marketing it. And remember, nobody had been buying Sony consoles prior to that. It was Sega and Nintendo exclusively. So Sony came in and just knew they had to market the you-know-what out of it. And Sega ended up jumping the release date of the Saturn because they were so freaked out. It was almost like the 3DO didn't exist once they got into the fall of 96 or 95? I think 95 is when it came out. So once you got into 95, like 94 was the window, and I don't think they dropped the price enough. If they had because the 3DO eventually came down to the price, I think, of the PlayStation, and it wasn't as powerful as the PlayStation. So it had some headwinds there. All right, so now we're going to take this thing apart real quick and see what's inside of it. So these are upgradable. And if I remember correctly, we have to take off these little rubber things to get at it. And these are not rubber feet. There's rubber feet here and here. So those little rubber things cover up the screws. So we're going to do that real quick. I think Sega ran out of money, as I think what happened. So I just got to find something I can pry those little things out with here. Let's see if I've got a little Allen wrench here that'll do it. Yeah, so we have to get these little feet out here. I just looked at their other one, the Intel-based one. This was the same thing I had to go through with those too. You have to because these screws are underneath these things. And then we use this rubber thing to pull it all out, but we've got to get the things out from here. Let me go grab something that's got a little bit more of a point to it. I can use this. There we go. Yeah, it's the only thing I don't like about these, because they are upgradable, but you basically got to toss out these little rubber protectors here for some reason. All right. NVMe storage slots on it. I'm still loving my screwdriver. I got to get a little bit more, get a little more of these screws out here. All right, and then we just pull this up. All right, so let's do a little B-roll here. And I think there's a cage. That's right, we got to get the cage out too. So this is like a little dust filter they have on there. All right. Doo-doo. All right, so in here, we have our crucial RAM. This is DDR5 RAM. They have a nice big heat sink here over the top of the NVMe drive. So you have two NVMe slots here. Only one is occupied, so there's a free one over here. So if you wanted to do like a dual boot scenario, you could do that. So you've got some options. But yeah, I don't know what the point of the rubber feet is. I mean, it's almost like they don't want people to go in. Meanwhile, they tell you to clean the, meanwhile, they say clean the filter on a regular basis. So what is it? Which do you want? Yeah, so that was a crazy time in the mid-90s. Yeah, it was people were hungry for something more powerful. And remember, at the time, like you could go into a video arcade and stuff was better, right? It was faster. So now it's, we don't have that anymore. But yeah, you can upgrade the RAM. I think these can go up to 64 gigabytes. So this one has 2 sticks of 16, but so this is 32, but you can get up to 64, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe even a little bit more than that. Let me look. Let's see. So this can go up to, oh, it's expandable to 256 gigabytes of RAM. Holy moly, that's a lot of RAM. So this has got 32. That's a lot. All right, so let's put this back together here. This little screwdriver has been really helpful. I get a lot of use out of it. Looks about right there. And I just got a notification that my Synology NAS was shutting down. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Yeah, so there you go, everybody. Yeah, just enough to run a that's right. You could probably run like a cache in actual RAM, right? I mean, you could probably dedicate, a 100 gigs or more to a RAM cache, and you're running it like DDR5 RAM speed. So that's pretty crazy. So I guess I can put these little rubber things back in. I'm sure they're going to pop out now that I've removed them, but I guess it keeps a cleaner look, but maybe my Synology just updated because it is pinging. All right, well, there you go. So this is it. And actually, now that I've got it turned off, you can see all the ports. So I did run my my speed test on this, or the test that I run for the stress testing, and it scored perfectly. So it's got a nice big heat sink there. So what you just saw was the bottom, and then the processor is on the other side with the fan and heat sink there. So you've got a huge heat sink, and the fan is blowing hot air out of this. So you definitely want to keep the airflow clear on these. USB 2.0 right here. So you're going to want to plug in your keyboards and mice and that stuff to this port. This one is also, let's see, actually no, one of these is USB 3. I'll have to look back on the specs. But you got 3 USB things here. I would just plug in your keyboards and stuff there and then use the front ones for the other stuff. 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, DisplayPort, HDMI. You can get a third display hooked up through the USB-C, USB 4 port. And then your power goes in there. And then on the front, power button, unlike the Mac Mini, which is on the bottom. Headphone jack. You actually have 2 headphone jacks, one on the front and one on the back. This is 10 gigabit USB-C, and then you have USB-A there. Richard San Diego wants to know, is this the best for the money for mini PCs? I like Beelink a lot. They've been around for a while. A lot of these other brands, they come and go. So you have a few that like show up and they do really, really well, and then they just disappear or they have some issue. The Beelinks have been pretty consistent. The problem with all of these is that long-term support is not necessarily guaranteed because they don't have much of a domestic presence. So there's always issues with with getting support if you need it. I've heard some good things from people that found that they were very helpful. I've heard from others that they had to send it back to China, so there's always that possibility. For me, these have always been kind of my utility computers. I use one for my amateur radio stuff, and I've had it for a couple of years now. It works really well. But yeah, they're not a name brand, right? So there's that. But I found that they've been around for a while. And in this space, if you're not making a good product, you're not around for a while. So I'm pretty happy with them. So right now, Beelink and GMK Tech and Minisforum are the ones that I'm pretty happy with. Who's the other one we just looked at? There was another one. Give me 1 second. I'm blanking out. I got so many things in my head. Let's see what yeah, Minix is the other one. So Minix, Minisforum, Beelink, and GMK Tech are the ones that I recommend right now. Those have all been pretty good. Yeah, we get a lot of these in, and they're popular again because they're performing well. So that's been a big change. Alfred Germano, hello there, and thank you for following all of our exploits here. So yeah, I'm just wrapping up, but I'm coming back tomorrow. We're going to look at a whole stack of these. I've got like 6 of them now. So the one that I like a lot is the GMK Tech G3 because it's super cheap. So I think that one right now is, we'll look at it, we'll play with it tomorrow. But the GMK Tech G3 is running at $128. You can't beat it. That's with 8 gigs of RAM. And I've got mine dual booting. We'll have some fun with that tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, so that's it. So I got to go do some Thanksgiving stuff. But I appreciate everybody stopping in. We had a good crowd today. So yeah, and oh boy, we got more super chats here. So Devi Tripathi, thank you very much for your super sticker. I missed that earlier. I appreciate that. Along with Tech Time with Eric and Chris Allegretta. So thank you all for your support of the channel. And Chris Allegretta on the road says Beelink's thermal engineering is top notch. But yes, and this is actually a really good point. Buy them on Amazon because you have some customer support from Amazon to back you up. I agree 100%. So there you go. All right. Yeah, David's talking about his phone bills. But back in the day, we had to use modems, right? So I used to rack up some pretty expensive phone bills dialing. I used to dial into the Apogee BBS in Texas, which is where you would get like Wolfenstein and Doom and all those games. Like you had to download them from a BBS, and if you didn't want to wait for somebody to upload it to your local one, you went direct, and it took a while. So I think Doom, which fit on a floppy disk, if I'm not mistaken, I think it totally did. it took me about an hour to download it from Texas. So it's crazy. So Richard's wondering if laptop pricing is dropping with hubs, is there still a reason to get a mini? I think so. I mean, these don't have the power constraints, so you have much more robust cooling on this, so the performance is better. And in an office environment, you don't want people walking home with their computers every day. So I think these work well in that scenario too, where you want a desktop computer, you don't want it walking off every day. These can get locked down. This one doesn't have it, but some of them have Kensington lock slots, so you can actually lock them down on desks. So good stuff. Well, thank you, Dave. Yeah, we had some fun today, and I'll be recording a regular video that will be up on the channel next week for this. And the price on this should be, it's a little better right now, but generally it's about the same as the Black Friday price. So they mess around with those coupons like they all do. So good stuff. All right, everybody, I got to run, but thank you all for tuning in, and we'll be back again tomorrow. I got 2 streams planned for tomorrow. More of this stuff. So if you are not following me on Amazon, there's 966 of you watching right now. I must be on the front page somewhere. Definitely hit the button and hit the follow button. So I'm not sure where I'm showing up on Amazon, but it's in a section where there's a lot of people watching. But yeah, hit the follow button like Mandy and Juan just did. And so if you follow me, every time I come on, I do this stuff all the time. We get something, we take it apart, we boot it up, we test it thoroughly. So have a watch. All right, everybody. I will see you all on the next one. And have a great afternoon. And go from there. And by the way, subscribe to my YouTube channel along with my email list. And I'm doing a live auction Friday night. We're going to get rid of a lot of this stuff. So tune in. All right, everybody. Thank you all for the follows. And thank you all for watching. And have a great evening. And a great Thanksgiving. I'm looking forward to that. And I'm grateful for all of you. And I'll be back again tomorrow. See you soon. Bye.